All right, we're here today talking with Michael from Seamaster Batteries because you know what? Back in the old days, oils ain't oils. Batteries aren't batteries, are they?
Absolutely, David.
So let's have a look at some of the features of a good marine battery.
First thing I look at is dual terminals, where you've got a solid post and a threaded post. Second thing I look at is cold cranking amperage. That means the strength of the battery. And the third is reputable dealerships that you buy them from, where you're guaranteed service and warranty.
Now, just on the post, Michael, so you've got a solid post and then you've got a threaded post. What's the difference?
In a normal application, what people do is they will put their cranking battery straight to their engine. So that's all it does. Specifically, its sole purpose is to crank your engine. The threaded post, covered with a wing nut, does all your accessories, from anchors, electric motors, lights, radios, anything that runs off 12 volt and is not to crank the engine.
Okay, and checking that your battery's fully charged and charging it, what's the best way to do that?
Look, unless you're a qualified auto elec, what I would do is I crank my engine quickly. If it's lethargic or doesn't start at all, crank over at all, what I do is I pull my batteries out of the boat and I put them on charge. If at any stage it smells like sulfation or rotten eggs, turn it off, replace your batteries.
If you've got all that corrosion over it, does that mean the battery's on the way out?
No, not at all. I mean, marine batteries are used in salt applications.
Yeah.
Just clean them up with a bit of hot water and you'll be right.
Yeah. Charging your battery, you must charge it all the time when it's not in use. There's several ways you can do it. We've got a few things here, like the little trickle chargers, solar powered charging. What would you recommend is the best way to charge your battery?
Look, ideally, is a trickle charger. There's two forms. This, as you can see, is a solar. Runs off solar energy and it'll charge your battery. Whereas this one runs off 240 volts. So you plug it into your adapter at home, put it on your battery, and it'll charge it up very, very slowly. The best form of charging, and prior to using these, I would use something such as this, which does complete charging. It's 15 amp hour, which is quite a big unit.
Yep.
Once it reaches optimum 12.6 volts, 12.8, it cuts out as a charger and falls into the trickle charge mode.
Okay.
So then you can take it off completely and just use one of these.
Yep. So Michael, coming into winter, what should people do over the off season to make sure they've got a good battery for next season?
Well, there's two ways we can do it. We can either disconnect the voltage going from the batteries to your electrical systems, and there's a couple of ways to do it. First way is what I've got in my system, is an isolation switch. Now I'll just turn that to off and I'll put a trickle charger on it, such as this. And spasmodically that'll be used every month for about 12 hours.
Yep.
And my batteries are tip-top for the new season.
Okay, that's all you do?
If not, and you haven't got the isolation switch, just take the terminals off.
Yep.
That's all you need to do.
Michael, tell me the difference between a cranking battery and a deep cycle battery.
Not a problem. David, a cranking battery is one that receives constant charge from an alternator. That can be a car or even a marine battery. They've got a built-in alternator regulator, something that feeds it voltage or charge. A deep cycle battery doesn't need that. You charge it, it's the makeup of the battery, and it's made to discharge and charge constantly hundreds of times. Whereas a normal cranker, once you do it a few times, you will ruin the battery.
So with a deep cycle, you can actually drain that battery all the way down? That's okay for that battery?
That's what it's made for, and charge it many more times over and above a cranking battery. You will end up sulfating or ruining a cranking battery by doing that.
There you go. Didn't know that. What's the benefits of having dual batteries?
Great question. We get asked this all the time, Dave. Basically, it's a safety issue, in my opinion. When you've got a dual battery system, it allows you to have one battery wholly and solely to crank your engine. So when you're out in the bay, that's all it does. It'll get you out and get you in. The secondary battery is a deep cycle, and you've got everything else associated with accessories running off that. So you're never draining off the main battery.
Should you use an isolator switch when you've got dual batteries to actually turn them on and off when you stop to go fishing?
You certainly should. The one I've got, which is quite an expensive unit, has a number of settings on it. it'll have off, battery 1, which is your cranker, battery 2, which is your deep cycle accessories, and batteries 1 and 2, so they both run together. What I do, or most people with the same setup, is they'll go out with batteries 1 and 2 to where their spot is, then they'll click off 1 and 2 and go to battery 2, and they'll have their fish finders, their radios, but they're not drawing from their cranker, so they're safe to get back in.
Now this boat's fitted with an electric trolling motor. Michael, what's the ideal setup for a battery for an electric trolling motor?
Dave, simple again, it's horses for courses. What I classify a 12 or 24 volt electric motor is an accessory.
Yep.
And this should run straight off a deep cycle battery. It's not used all the time, it's used spasmodically, so it runs off a deep cycle battery.
So if you want to get the most out of your electric trolling motor, should you have an absolutely dedicated battery to that motor?
It'll hook up to its own deep cycle battery, which is part of all your other accessories.
There you go. Now, when you're buying a battery, how important is it to buy off a reputable dealer?
Huge, and it's a cliche, but look, buy from a reputable dealer. The reasons being is, look at national service, whether you can get a warranty in Victoria or Sydney, advice and service. They'll tell you what to use for your application.
Appreciate your time, Michael. And like I said at the start, oils ain't oils, batteries aren't batteries. Get yourself a good Seamaster battery, because if you've got a good battery, you're going to have a great day's fishing.